It's late. The room is dark, illuminated only by the cool, artificial glow of the screen. The credits of the final episode are rolling, or perhaps your thumb has finally, involuntarily, stopped its endless scroll. And in the sudden, abrupt silence, a strange feeling descends. It's not the satisfying exhaustion that comes after a day of meaningful work. It's not the peaceful contentment of a quiet evening. It is a quiet, hollow, and deeply unsettling emptiness. Your eyes, accustomed to the vibrant, hypersaturated colors of the digital world, struggle to adjust to the dim, analog reality of your own room. There's a vague headache humming behind them, a stiffness in your neck, and a low-grade, persistent sense of shame. 4, maybe 5 hours have vanished without a trace, consumed by the silent, flickering altar of the screen. We call this experience relaxing. We call it unwinding or escaping. But if we are honest with ourselves, the feeling it leaves us with is not one of restoration. It is the emotional equivalent of having eaten a large bag of candy for dinner. In the moment, it is sweet and distracting. But afterward, we are left feeling sick, unnourished, and vaguely disgusted with ourselves. The high-stakes drama of the series has ended, the endless parade of curated lives on the feed has paused, and we are forced to return to our own. And in that jarring transition, our own life feels impossibly gray, slow, and unappealing. The laundry is still in the basket. The ambitious personal project is still untouched. The difficult conversation is still waiting to be had. The digital world was a vibrant, effortless spectacle. The real world is a landscape of difficult, unglamorous, and necessary effort. And in that moment, the choice to simply click play next episode, or to reopen the app feels less like a choice and more like a desperate reflex. But what if entertainment is the wrong word for this experience? What if the more accurate word is sedation? A sedative, after all, is not designed to nourish or restore you. It is designed to numb you. It doesn't solve the problem of your pain, your boredom, or your anxiety. It just makes you unconscious of them for a little while. The systems we engage with, the infinite scroll algorithm, the autoplay feature, the carefully engineered notifications, are not designed to provide a satisfying, finite experience and then release us, refreshed, back into our lives. They are designed for maximum, continuous engagement. They are designed to keep us in that chair, to keep us scrolling, to keep us watching. They are designed to keep us sedated. And the true, terrifying cost of this digital sedation is not our lost time. It is our lost drive. It is the slow, systematic, and almost imperceptible erosion of what it means to be a striving, creating, and living human being. This is not a harmless escape. It is a powerful anesthetic, a digital opiate administered through fiber optic cables and glowing screens. It is an agent that is quietly and methodically numbing our ambition, dulling our creativity, fracturing our focus, and neutering the powerful, difficult, and sometimes painful force that we might once have called our will to live. And the most insidious part of it all is that we are the ones who are willingly, even eagerly, administering the dose to ourselves every single day. To understand why this digital sedation is so uniquely corrosive, we must first understand the nature of the force it is sedating. When we speak of a will to live, we are not merely talking about the biological instinct to survive. We are talking about a deep metaphysical drive that was the central obsession of 19th century philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer and Friedrich Nietzsche. For them, the will, whether as Schopenhauer's will to life or Nietzsche's will to power, is the primal, striving, and energetic core of our being. It is a force that is not content with mere comfort or placid existence. It is a force that finds its meaning, its purpose, and its very sense of being alive through the act of overcoming. The will is like a muscle. It requires resistance to grow stronger. A life without challenge, without difficulty, without the need to strive and assert its own strength is, from this perspective, a kind of living death. A perfectly comfortable and effortless paradise would be the ultimate hell for the human spirit, for it is in the struggle against the world that the will truly comes alive. Now let us turn to our modern world. The contemporary philosopher Byung-Chul Han argues that we live in a society that is obsessed with smoothness. Everything in our culture, from the polished glass surface of our smartphones to the curated perfection of our social media feeds, is designed to be frictionless, positive, and free of any negativity. Digital entertainment is the absolute pinnacle of this ideology of smoothness. The algorithm learns your preferences and feeds you an endless, personalized stream of content it knows you will like. The autoplay feature eliminates the tiny, frustrating moment of having to choose what to watch next. The infinite scroll removes the very concept of an end, of a point of completion. There is no resistance. There is no challenge. There is no moment of unsatisfying boredom that might force you to turn inward and create your own meaning. This frictionless world is a gilded cage for the will. It is a padded cell for the human spirit. Our fundamental drive wants to climb a rugged mountain, to feel the strain in its legs and the burn in its lungs, and to experience the profound satisfaction of reaching a difficult summit. Instead, our digital world offers us an endless, perfectly smooth escalator. The result is not fulfillment. It is a deep and agonizing atrophy. Our will to live is not being violently murdered. It is being gently and smoothly suffocated by an excess of effortless pleasure. This philosophical diagnosis has a perfect and terrifying parallel in modern neuroscience. The feeling of drive, of wanting, of motivation is largely governed by the neurochemical dopamine. But dopamine is not, as is commonly thought, the pleasure molecule. It is the motivation molecule. It is released not when we receive a reward, but in anticipation of a potential reward, driving us to take action. The human brain is designed to release its most potent and satisfying bursts of dopamine after a period of prolonged, difficult, and uncertain effort. The gratification is delayed, and it is earned. But our digital entertainment systems have hacked this ancient mechanism. They provide a constant, high-volume, low-effort drip of unearned dopamine. Every notification, every like, every short, explosive video is a tiny, guaranteed reward that requires almost no effort. This rewires our brain. It creates a feedback loop where our reward system becomes accustomed to immediate, effortless gratification. Our baseline for what feels motivating and rewarding becomes dangerously high. After a brain has been conditioned by this digital fire hose of cheap dopamine, the real world, with its slow pace and its delayed, uncertain rewards, begins to feel neurologically unappealing. Why would our brain expend the enormous energy required to learn an instrument or write a book, where the reward is months or years away, when it knows it can get a guaranteed and immediate hit of stimulation by simply opening an app? The sedation is both metaphysical and chemical. We are starving our will of the struggle it needs while simultaneously addicting our brains to a level of stimulus that real life can never match. I speak of this digital sedation not as a distant cultural critic, but as a recovering addict. There was a period of my life, a long and blurry season of profound uncertainty, where the digital world was not just an escape, it was my reality. My real life felt stalled, filled with disappointment and a daunting lack of direction. The world outside my window seemed to demand an energy and a courage that I simply did not possess. And so, I retreated. I retreated into the warm, glowing, and perfectly predictable comfort of the screen. My drug of choice varied. Some nights it was video games. My real-world career was a landscape of ambiguity and potential failure. But in the world of the game, I was a hero on an epic and clearly defined quest. I felt a palpable, intoxicating sense of progress. I leveled up my character, acquired new skills, and accumulated virtual wealth. The game provided me with clear objectives, measurable progress, and guaranteed rewards for my effort. It gave me the feeling of mastery and purpose that my own life so painfully lacked. It was a perfect simulation of achievement, without any of the real-world risk of failure. Other times, my sedative was the infinite scroll of social media. My real-world relationships felt distant and complicated, but online, I could maintain a phantom sense of connection with hundreds of people at once. I became a professional spectator of other people's lives. I watched their triumphs, their vacations, their new relationships, all presented in beautifully curated photo albums. I would leave a comment, click a like, and feel a tiny, fleeting spark of social engagement. It was the illusion of community without the demanding, awkward, and often messy work of actual friendship. I was a ghost at 1,000 parties, an invisible observer of a vibrant social world that felt much safer to watch than to participate in. And then there were the streaming services, the most potent anesthetic of all. My own life story felt boring, stagnant, and poorly written. But for 10, 12 hours at a time, I could inject a different story directly into my consciousness. I could inhabit worlds of incredible drama, of epic romance, of thrilling adventure. I borrowed the emotional stakes of fictional characters because confronting my own was simply too terrifying. I felt their victories and their heartbreaks, and for a little while, I could forget that my own heart was quietly, safely, numb. I was living a vicarious life, a life by proxy. And the awakening from this state was not a sudden, heroic moment. It was a slow, creeping horror. It was in the small moments. The moment you look up from the screen and see your own pale, tired reflection staring back at you. The moment you notice the pile of unwashed dishes, the unopened mail, the musical instrument in the corner gathering a thin layer of dust. The moment you realize you can recount the entire plot of a fictional television series, but you cannot remember the last time you created something of your own. And in that moment, the feeling is not just shame. It is the cold, terrifying realization that you have become a ghost in your own life. You have been a spectator, a consumer, a passive observer of 1,000 other stories, while the one and only story that is truly yours has been left unwritten. The digital world had not just been a place of rest, it had been a place of hiding. And the hardest truth I had to admit to myself was that I had made a choice. I had chosen the comfortable, predictable, and ultimately empty simulation over the difficult, unpredictable, and potentially meaningful reality. I had accepted the sedation because I was afraid of the messy, painful, and beautiful business of being alive. To awaken from this digital sedation is to be faced with a terrifying question. What now? The immediate logical impulse is to focus on negation. I must use my phone less. I must stop binge-watching. We try to fight the addiction through sheer willpower, through apps that block other apps, through dramatic digital detoxes. But these methods often fail because they are treating the symptom, not the disease. The disease is not the presence of passive consumption. It is the absence of active creation. The true path out of the gray, hollow world of the ghost is not to renounce the simulation, but to begin the difficult and glorious work of building a reality that is more compelling. The first and most powerful practice is this: you must become a producer, not just a consumer. This does not mean you must become a great artist or an inventor. Creation in this sense is a much broader and more fundamental act. It is the simple act of imposing your will, your energy, and your attention onto the raw material of the world. It is the decision to be a cause, not just an effect. The antidote to the endless passive consumption of stories is to create a small story of your own. The antidote to the consumption of food made by faceless corporations is to cook a simple meal for yourself. The antidote to the consumption of algorithmically generated playlists is to pick up an instrument and learn a single clumsy chord. You must consciously and deliberately begin to shift the ratio of your life. If yesterday you spent 100% of your free time consuming, today your goal is to spend 99% consuming and 1% creating. That 1% can be anything. Write one honest paragraph in a journal. Go for a walk and take a single photograph of something you find beautiful. Read one page of a difficult book. Fix a broken object in your home. These small acts of creation are a form of rebellion. They are a declaration to the world, and more importantly to yourself, that you are not just a passive receptacle for content. You are an active, creative force. That 1% is the small crack where the light of your own will begins to shine through again. The second path is to embrace what has become the most feared state of the modern mind. You must practice the discipline of boredom. Our digital world is a machine designed to eliminate boredom. Every spare second of our lives can now be filled with some form of stimulus. But boredom is not a disease. It is a necessary and fertile state of being. Boredom is the mind's signal that it is ready for new instructions. And if you refuse to provide it with the cheap, easy instructions from an external source, it will, after a period of resistance, begin to generate its own. This is where creativity, self-reflection, and the quiet whispers of your own deep desires finally have a chance to be heard. The practice is one of intentional deprivation. Schedule an appointment with boredom. For just 10 minutes a day, put away your phone, turn off the music, and simply sit in a room. Do nothing. The first few times you do this, it will feel like a form of torture. Your mind, like any addict, will scream for its usual fix. But if you can endure this initial discomfort, something remarkable will happen. The fog will begin to clear. Your own thoughts, not the thoughts of others, will begin to surface. You must starve the addiction to external stimulus to remember the taste of your own internal world. Finally, you must become a conscious architect of your own environment. You must strategically introduce friction. We are creatures of convenience. We fall into the trap of digital sedation because it is the path of least resistance. The phone is always there. The next episode plays automatically. The goal is to make the easy path difficult and the difficult path easy. Make consumption inconvenient. Charge your phone in another room, not next to your bed. Uninstall your most addictive apps, forcing you to log in through a clunky web browser. In their place, remove all friction from the act of creation. Leave your guitar on a stand in the middle of your living room, not in its case in the closet. Leave a journal and a pen open on your desk. Put a real, physical book on your nightstand. Design your environment so that the path of least resistance leads not to the screen, but to a tangible, real-world act of engagement. We began this journey in the gray, hollow aftermath of a digital binge, with the quiet and unsettling feeling of being empty. We can now give that feeling its proper name. It is the agony of a starved will. It is the cry of a powerful primal force within us that was built to strive against resistance, but has instead been pacified, tranquilized, and fed a constant, effortless diet of synthetic stimulus. The emptiness we feel is not a sign that we are broken. It is the healthy and rational response of a vital part of ourselves that is being slowly and systematically suffocated. Our modern world offers us a seductive bargain. It offers us a life free from boredom, free from friction, and free from the painful risk of failure. It offers us a smooth, comfortable, and endlessly entertaining simulation of living. But we can now see the hidden price of this bargain. In exchange for this easy comfort, we must trade our vitality. We must trade the very force that makes us feel powerful, purposeful, and truly alive. And so, the ultimate choice is ours, and it is a choice we must make every single day. On the one hand, there is the easy, simulated life, a life of watching, of scrolling, of consuming. It is safe, it is predictable, and it is deeply comfortable. But it is the slow, gentle, and certain death of the human spirit. On the other hand, there is the difficult, authentic life, a life of creating, of striving, of facing the discomfort of boredom and the real possibility of failure. It is often frustrating, uncertain, and painful. But it is the only path that contains the friction and the resistance necessary to nourish our will and remind us that we are here to be more than just spectators. The battle against the digital sedative is one of the great struggles of our time, and it is fought not in grand gestures but in small daily choices. If you are ready to reclaim your will to live, I invite you to subscribe to this channel for more challenges to the modern world. And now, begin the work. Share your first step in the comments below. What is one small, deliberate act of creation you will commit to today? Your answer is not just a comment. It is a declaration of intent. It is your first step out of the gray and back into the difficult, beautiful, and vibrant world of the living.